You're running. You don't know what's behind you, but you know it's getting closer. Your legs feel heavy, like moving through water. The hallway stretches. The door keeps sliding further away. And then you wake up. Heart pounding. Sheets damp. That familiar feeling, relief, confusion, a strange exhaustion, as if you actually ran. You've had this dream before. Maybe not this exact one, but something like it. Being chased, falling, failing an exam you didn't study for, showing up somewhere important, completely naked. You probably dismissed it. Random noise, brain garbage, neurons firing while you sleep. But what if it wasn't random at all? What if every nightmare you've ever had was training you for something? What if your dreams aren't chaos but rehearsal? For decades, scientists assumed dreams were meaningless, just the brain's way of taking out the trash. Random images stitched together while the conscious mind was offline. But when researchers actually studied what people dream about, they found something strange. Dreams aren't random. They're remarkably consistent across cultures, across centuries, across billions of sleeping minds. The most common dream themes? Being chased, falling, teeth falling out, being late, being lost, failing a test, being naked in public. In one study of over 1,000 participants, 48% reported dreams about falling, 44% about being chased. These numbers hold whether you're in Finland or China, whether you're 25 or 65. And here's what's even stranger. Over 70% of dream emotions are negative. Fear is the most common emotion reported in dreams, more common than joy, more common than peace, more common than love. If dreams were random, you'd expect a normal distribution. Some good, some bad, some neutral. But they're not neutral. They're skewed, heavily, toward threat, toward danger, toward things going wrong. Why would evolution build a brain that spends a third of its life simulating disasters? Unless the disasters were the point. In 2000, Finnish neuroscientist Antti Revonsuo proposed something radical. He called it the threat simulation theory. The idea is simple. Dreams evolved not to entertain you, not to process your emotions, not to fulfill your wishes, but to keep you alive. Think about it. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors lived in a world of constant danger. Predators, rival tribes, poisonous snakes, cliffs, drowning, starvation. The ones who survived weren't just the strongest or the fastest. They were the ones who could anticipate danger, who could recognize a threat before it arrived, who could react without thinking. And where do you practice reacting without thinking? In your dreams. Revonsuo's theory suggests that dreaming is a kind of virtual reality, a biological flight simulator that runs scenarios you might face over and over, so that when the real threat appears, you've already rehearsed your response. That dream where you're being chased, you're practicing escape. That dream where you're falling, you're calibrating your fear response. That dream where you fail an exam or show up unprepared, you're simulating social failure, the kind that, in a tribal society, could mean exile, death. The evidence supports this. Studies of traumatized children, children who had experienced war, violence, displacement, showed dramatically higher rates of threat dreams. Their brains weren't broken. They were working exactly as designed. The threat simulation system had been activated by real danger, and it was running overtime, preparing them for a world that had already proven itself hostile. Even in people who have never faced real violence, the pattern holds. The brain simulates threats that might happen: social humiliation, physical danger, loss of control. Your nightmares aren't errors. They're fire drills. But threat simulation is only part of the story. Because dreams don't just prepare you for danger, they prepare you for everything. In a study at Harvard, participants were trained on a virtual maze, a 3D navigation task they had to learn before sleep. When they woke up, the ones who had dreamed about the maze performed dramatically better. Not slightly better, 10 times better than those who didn't dream about it. The brain wasn't just storing the memory, it was practicing it, running the route again and again while the body lay still. This has been replicated across dozens of studies. Motor skills, spatial learning, problem solving, all improve more with sleep than with equivalent time awake. And the improvement is strongest when the learning shows up in dreams. Even more remarkable, lucid dreamers, people who become aware they're dreaming and can control their dreams, have been shown to improve at physical skills by practicing them in the dream state. In one experiment, lucid dreamers practiced dart throwing in their dreams. When they woke up, their accuracy had improved, as if they had practiced in real life. Your sleeping brain doesn't know the difference between simulation and reality. When you dream of throwing a dart, the same motor pathways activate. When you dream of running, your brain rehearses running. The boundary between imagination and reality is thinner than you think. And every night, you cross it. I used to have a recurring dream. I was back in university, final exam day. I walked into the room, sat down, and realized I had never attended the class. Not once. I didn't even know what subject it was. The questions on the page were in a language I couldn't read. I would wake up with that familiar panic, the certainty that I had failed something essential, missed something critical, that I was about to be exposed as a fraud. I haven't been a student in over a decade, but the dream kept coming, again and again. Always the same feeling, always that same helplessness. For a long time, I thought it was just anxiety, my brain replaying old stress. But then I started to notice something. The dream came most often when I was about to face something difficult, a presentation, a decision, a conversation I'd been avoiding. It wasn't replaying the past, it was preparing me for the future. The specific details didn't matter. What mattered was the feeling, the simulation of being unprepared, of facing judgment, of not being good enough. My brain was running that scenario so that when I faced it awake, it wouldn't be the first time. The dream wasn't torturing me, it was training me. And once I understood that, something shifted. I stopped resenting the dream. I started listening to it. What was it preparing me for? What threat had it detected that my conscious mind had ignored? The dream became a message, not from somewhere mystical, but from a part of myself that had been paying attention all along. But here's the question that stays with me. If your brain spends every night simulating threats, rehearsing skills, preparing you for dangers both real and imagined, then who is doing the preparing? And who is being prepared? You experience the dream as something that happens to you. You're the one being chased, the one falling, the one failing the exam. The dream feels like an external event, something your consciousness witnesses. But you're also the one creating it. The monster chasing you? You built it. The cliff you're falling from? You constructed it. The exam room, the questions, the feeling of not being ready, all of it came from you. You are both the simulation and the simulator, the dreamer and the dream. And if that's true at night, when your eyes are closed and the world disappears, what about during the day? What if waking life is just another kind of rehearsal, another simulation your brain is running to prepare you for something you can't yet see? What if the threats you perceive, the fears you carry, the stories you tell yourself about what might go wrong are just the daytime version of the same ancient system? The brain doesn't distinguish between real and imagined. We know this now. It activates the same regions, the same pathways, the same emotional responses. So when you worry about the future, you're not just thinking, you're rehearsing. When you imagine failure, you're not just anxious, you're training. The question isn't whether your brain is running simulations. The question is, what are you practicing? Tonight, when you sleep, you'll dream. You might not remember it, but somewhere in the architecture of your mind, a scenario will unfold. A threat will appear. You'll run, or fight, or freeze. You'll fail, or fall, or find your way through. And tomorrow, without knowing why, you'll be slightly more prepared for something you haven't faced yet. Your ancestors are still with you. Their fears still run through your neurons. Their survival still plays out in your sleep. You are the descendant of 10,000 generations who dreamed of danger and woke up ready. Your dreams aren't random. They never were.